guys. How are you?
To you. Happy birthday to
Happy
you.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Oh,
Thank
birthday to
you.
Scott. Happy
happy
birthday to
birthday to
you.
you.
And you get a
Thank
special
you
reward for
all.
showing up tonight on your birthday.
That's
Yay!
very sweet. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So we've missed you, but I've been doing this last week, kind of going down into a little bit more depth with each of you to kind of try to figure out, where to focus. And Scott, I know you sent me your statement. My thought was that it sort of describes you where you are now. So
Okay.
yeah, right. I mean, your statement was really about your workshop right now.
Yes.
But it
Yep.
does so, I think we am I right in saying you have some work that you've done sculpturally that's out of uh kind of out of the commissions that you've been doing for your workshop, or you're going to be doing those? Just want to clarify that.
I have done over the last 15 years, I've done a number of sculptures for myself or for just experimental and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, but now mostly everything I've done in the last few years has been for a
Okay.
commission piece, just because we're just busier and I spend the time doing that. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
need to experiment more. And I actually last night I was super surprised, but I was actually invited to show next February at the Center for South Coast Center for the Arts, I believe. Is it?
Fabulous.
So, yeah. So there's
Good.
yeah, I'm really excited, and I think that it's going to be a collaborated show. A friend of mine who's been there before works with found object like I do,
Uh-huh.
mostly off the beach, and she wanted three of us to do this show, and so she's invited me to do it with them, and I'm really excited.
That's
Very
great. So you have
nice.
a real
Yeah,
goal.
I
Excellent.
couldn't have been more interesting and exciting news last night, so I'm really happy.
No, and a
That,
year in advance. Wonderful. Ooh,
that is
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
exactly. I'm gonna need it. That's for sure.
yeah.
Good. So I mean,
Congratulations.
yeah,
Thank you,
and
thank you,
this
thank you.
this can really be, the sort of kickstart of that way of looking at your work now. And
Really,
yeah, and so I think, it's probably too soon to do an artist statement about that work. So let's, you should probably let it put that on the side burner. You don't really need it right now. Wait till you see, where the work goes and where you come up with, and then, then it's time.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So
Cool.
okay,
Oops.
so yeah, I have a pretty good idea now of where people are headed, and please do let me know what you need as we move forward. I think we have after tonight four more sessions, and I mean, doesn't mean that we can't keep working afterwards. I'm happy to extend. It just needs sort of need a critical number, but at any rate, so you get what you need out of these we just lost Laura again. Sessions. Please do articulate, what could be helpful to you. So tonight, I did want to talk about alternative showing opportunities and, the kinds of things that are available. Laura, she keeps listing us. Um, so, you know, uh, usually when you are first trying to expose your work to the public, the opportunities tend to be open calls. And by the way, I am during an open call.
I
Ooh.
saw that.
To be, I'm
I saw
during
that.
an open call show at Rocky Neck Center for the Arts next,
Great.
and the call is just now open. So I'm going to send you all the details.
Oh, that's
So
lovely.
anyway, I just happen to let you know, and it's very nice. So I've done this a couple times, but not in a long time. So
Where is this, Rocky?
Rocky Neck is North Shore,
North Shore.
North Shore, near Gloucester. Yeah, very near
Okay.
Gloucester. So it's a beautiful space and an old, gorgeous old church up there, and yeah, so it's a nice space anyway. But so, okay, so you have the open calls, and That's mostly what people see. It's often how people, make that first little foray
Inroad.
outwards into public. And that's fine. The danger is that, if it's your first, push outwards, if you do not get accepted, it can really be a bummer and it can really do a number on your ego. So, but it is what it is. And, the thing is that we have to really understand that there's a big difference between your practice and the joy and involvement, engagement that you get out of your practice.
Right.
And this whole thing of putting you out in the world.
The business.
Very, very different. And it will be, your long time effort to, get a grip on that, what to do with the rejection and how to deal with it and how to keep moving forward. So it's just.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, Laura.
I have had solicitations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've seen your work. Oh, I'd love to. We're going to have a show. You should come to this show. We're going to put you in a show. Blah, 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 blah. We just need $10,000.
Oh, no. No.
Exactly. And it's not even,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many scams out
That's
there
a
right
scam.
now.
Exactly. So that's the other thing that has happened with the internet.
And that will hurt your feelings too.
Do not do that. Never do
and
that.
then one other thing do not do, which I've already done, which is I was in the Harlem Fine Arts Show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these fine art shows where you buy a booth for a weekend.
Yeah.
And they promise that they have done this wonderful promotion. But what they do is they anchor the show with galleries and they put the individual artists smack dab next to the gallery. So you're selling your original artwork next to people who are collecting, originals, the masters of, whatever genre. It was so demoralizing.
Yeah. There's so many people out there that want to take advantage of artists. It's everywhere, and especially on social media. So, yes, you have to really beware. Usually, if you have to pay for something, don't do it.
Yes, but then there are those calls where you have to pay to enter,
Yes.
and you have to, pay for, 5 pieces, 3 pieces, whatever. Those seem less scammy.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know, there's so many different types of calls, but
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, let me explain that. Right.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Totally. So open calls are something that a lot of places do to raise money to basically pay for their
existence.
And like, for example, Cambridge Art Association, Concord Art, whatever, Rocky Neck. I mean, all of them, Brumfield, everybody who does it is doing it because you make money doing that. And they're not doing it necessarily look, I think they're doing it because, in effect, it does give a lot of people an opportunity. That's fine, but they are doing it for the money.
Right.
It can
So
be quite lucrative.
the last scam that I thought I was hearing about was from the art gallery TAG. I don't know if you know Claudia Rick.
I do.
Claudia?
Yeah.
That's another pay your way kind of a gallery.
Okay, so let me try to separate all of this stuff out, because I think there are parts of it. So let me just go into the calls, and then let's go into no, it's okay, the gallery situation, because that can be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So the calls are basically a way to these places to make money. The reason you may want to do it is for the experience. That's fine. You may want to do it because you want to get your work in front of a certain juror. And that's fine. And you might want to do it because you might want to, just beef up your CV a little bit. However, it's really be careful not to do too many of them, because more than 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, or occasionally, once every couple of years, that's okay. Again, you want to really think about why this one would be helpful to you. Be very careful. There are open calls in every state of the union, in every city. And, some look really entrancing. Some look like they're going to give you money if you, one of the, or you win an award.
Mm-hmm.
Do not do those. Do not. I mean, I think, for our purposes, being in Boston, there are lots of open calls right around here, and you don't have to pay to ship your work.
Right.
Because the thing about open calls is it's one piece among 350. I don't know, a number of pieces. And, it's really only good for an ego boost and maybe to get your work in front of a certain juror, who happens to be a curator that you wanted to. But, it's really not a great use of your money after the first couple of times.
But that's the trick, is that, I mean, I've submitted to a couple of things like Concord Art and whatever. They seem to always be looking for a certain thing, and I never know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, Zadie.
Where to
you
apply.
And speaking as a juror who have had me done this, behind the scenes, you don't know what's going on, and you will never know.
Yeah.
You will never know.
Never know.
And that's,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, sure, Scott.
They don't put out like an RFP, like so when I build for like hospitality, we want a light fixture that's X by X by X,
Right.
dimension wise, and we want this theme, this and that. There's none of that for an open call. It's like present what you think is going to be best for this particular opportunity, and we'll
That's right.
We'll let you know.
Juror chooses.
That doesn't sound very fair.
The juror comes in with their own agenda. So, I'll jury a show and it will look very different from the next person. So that's why I'm saying it's really, you got to see what it is and understand what you're doing if you do apply.
When you say,
Right, but
Wait a minute.
we're all trying to talk at once.
No.
Marianne. Okay, Scott, what were you going to say?
when you say, you just specifically said you need to know what they are looking for, but
No, I didn't.
No,
I
she didn't say that.
I
I'm
didn't say
sorry.
that. No.
I think I said that, something like that.
Yeah.
That
You
I
were
don't
saying
know. I
you
never
don't
know
know
what
what
they're
they're
looking for.
we
No.
don't know. Is there any way of gathering some intel about these open calls that would help predicate what we would make for that?
Well, yes. For example, the show that I'm curating, you would look at what kind of art I make.
Right.
And then you would say, oh, let me see. What does she seem to like? Oh, okay. Go to my Instagram account. What do I feature? Yeah, that's about the only thing you can do. And I mean, before there wasn't anyway. So at least now if the juror and these places try to pick a juror that they think people will want, I'm very flattered, to show their work to. Oh, why? Yeah. And so, in some cases, it's a juror who works at the Whitney. And and an artist who's really up and coming would say, oh, I want to apply to that because that juror, she's a curator at the Whitney Museum of Modern Art, Museum of Art, and I would love to be juried in the show by her. But it's nothing is a sure done deal.
Right. So would you replicate, or not replicate, but would you, when you say that, I totally understand what you're saying, but would one, without knowledge, like if I were to look at your body of work, would I want to create something similar, or would I offend you by doing that, or something that plays well with it, or something that would, how would you,
Well,
your experience?
You don't know.
You
won't
don't know, but yeah, you don't know. And I mean,
That's
just because I worked abstractly doesn't mean that I wouldn't be interested in, a realistic rendering of something. But
Right.
It will give you the idea that, I'm an abstract artist. And, if you were doing, just straight out landscape, this particular call is for the word shape is in there somehow. I have to go back and look at it. It's about shape.
So
It
did
probably wouldn't
did
be
you
a
name
good-
this? Did you name the
I did
show
not
or
name
somebody
it. No,
else?
no,
Okay.
they named it. And yeah, and I think, probably based on the show that I curated last year and at Concord Art, they maybe thought that I was the right person to do this. And also one of the people knows me. So, that's how this happens. But yeah, Scott, it's really a hard call. So let me say that just know that if you do the open call, it's not the greatest way to get your work in the world. It just isn't. For all those reasons, because you don't know, because 100% of the time it's a salon style show of like a zillion different people doing all kinds of things, and it really doesn't do you much good in the long term. I think it's kind of a waste of money unless you have a specific reason for doing it.
So this
Good
brings me
insight.
to my point.
Yeah,
Now that we have the internet
yeah,
and we see these opportunities, we do have an opportunity to look these people up
yes,
and find out a little bit about them.
yes.
But do you have a good list of good people that we could just have a cheat sheet or?
I mean, you can always ask me after this class is over. Just ask me, send me an email. If I can help you, I will. I do know some of the jurors around here, but they change. It's like they seem to feature the newest person at the MFA as a curator or the newest person at, name it. So that's how it works. And you don't have any idea, especially with young people, what they are looking for. And so that's why really it's not a great thing to do. It's kind of a waste. I think it's kind of a waste of time and money, frankly. But if look, if it's Concord Art, which are nice people or whatever kind of, whatever these art groups are around here, and you want to try, but understand, A, you might not get in and will not feel good. And B, if you do get in, it's going to be fun and that's it. And, on a very rare chance that you might sell something, look, they are not going to try to sell work from these shows because
That's not what they're for.
don't care for it. They don't care about it. I mean, this is what you pay a real gallery for. A real gallery dealer who really is in it will try to sell your work because that's how they
That's what
make
they
money.
do.
But, these art associations don't, of course they would love it, but they're not on the floor there grabbing people who come in and say, oh, look at this piece over here. You want to buy this. That's not what they do. Okay, so you just have to understand it and then really be careful. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't, it's so interesting that you're saying that because I feel like I know it down here, and this must be true everywhere. There's a lot of these calls, and they're actually considered to be quite positive because they build community and everyone comes to the openings, and so socially it's considered. But I do know from being on the back side of organizing those, because I'm on the board of the museum, that they are money makers for the museum, right? It's a real tagline. But in general, people don't seem to mind because they feel like they pay $20, they get in a show and they have a big party and everybody's happy and you drink $20 in wine and cheese, right? So there is sort of a little bit of a balance there, but it's so interesting what you're saying because there isn't really a push to sell. And there is no way to advance your work. Like I've been doing this for years and I have, every year I get a piece in all these shows, but it's more like a social network than it is a career building enterprise.
Exactly.
It's not bad to have a social network either.
Yeah.
Right. But you make a very good point, and I haven't really thought about it that clearly, that it isn't really a way to build your career. So although it is sort of presented as such, but you're right, it is not. So that's very interesting. Thank you.
Not even if you win an award. Nobody really cares. It's just isn't,
Yep.
Okay, so now
it's a cruel world.
It is.
It is
But it does help the museums if you're interested. It's a huge great line item. So if you're at all interested in maintaining those institutions, it's nice.
And absolutely. And that's why I say, if there's a local call where people go for it. but just really understand what's going on.
Mm.
Trying to make money, and they're trying to give a place for artists who are new to show, and that's also really good. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's that. So let's move on to what you were talking about, Laura, which are cooperative galleries in which you pay a fee to belong, so
Right.
that you are guaranteed X number of, a solo shows every couple.
No solo shows at TAG. They're
Right.
all group
Well,
shows. I'm
okay.
just using them as an
Okay.
example because that's the only one that
Okay.
so far I've
All right.
considered.
Yes. So all right. So let's think about this. First of all, commercial galleries are not doing well at all, for a zillion different reasons.
Yep.
And these cooperatives, of which there are several in the Boston area, have
Right.
ended up staying the course. Okay. And, they, so the Bromfield Gallery, Kingston Gallery, Galatea, Boston Sculptors, and probably a couple more that I can't think of, are cooperatives, meaning you get juried in by the members, such as they are at the moment, and then you get a chance to show your work in
Right.
various ways. Usually it's a show every 2 years, at least at the
Right.
galleries that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right.
And like another one like TAG has a slightly different model, but
Yeah.
you are paying for the opportunity to have your work seen, and you don't have to go to the effort of going to do it. So that is very appealing to a lot of people who don't want to really stick their neck out and do the work. And that's fine. But just know that that's what that is.
Yeah.
And, it might be, Laura, that might be a good place to start. I don't think it's bad. And I personally have been a member of 2 of those cooperatives. I was with Bromfield for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was with Boston Sculptures Gallery. And, I was glad to do it. But what happens is you get feeling very safe. You get feeling like, oh, I'm just, I don't have to work at trying to find a gallery. Thank God I have this thing and I
Right.
get to do it every 2 years. But there's very little incentive to sell your work because
Well, that's the thing. Everybody's only trying to sell their own work.
Right.
And somebody needs, I mean, we all need a team behind us in order to really sell the work. So
Exactly.
how do you build, and where do you get this team from? I mean,
Right. Okay. So
anyway.
right. That is very hard to do. So that's why you might want a commercial gallery. But here's the thing with the commercial galleries, they really are super interested in people that already have followers.
Right.
Already are buying the work, because it's really hard to find people who want to buy work. So, they may like your work, but if you don't come in, I mean, and I'm not saying, and this is just an
Generally speaking.
they kind of want to know that you've already been selling, or that, it depends. I mean, it really depends. Some places are like that. Other people are willing to take a chance and try. I think running a gallery is kind of like, a little bit of sort of providing a public service, because people come in to see the work for free a lot of time, and they're enjoying it as a kind of an aesthetic, poetic experience. And on the other hand, they're trying to sell it so that they can keep doing what they're doing. So
What gallery is this?
any gallery. This is
Okay.
any commercial gallery. This is, not the co-ops. So, the cooperative thing isn't a bad place to start, while
Right.
you also really look around for places that, you might really want to be.
That's an interesting thing too. Looking around to find places you want to be. Oy.
Right. And so that's kind of where,
Betty, stop laughing at me.
no,
I'm not laughing at you. I just,
yeah, I mean, we're all like rolling our eyes because it's, it's really, really hard.
It's daunting. And sometimes I'm so intimidated by the places that I really want to be that it's it's a conundrum.
Yeah, hi Nikki. So we're just talking about various, ways to sell the work or to get the work out there. So yeah, so here's a thing about commercial galleries that I want to say. I have not had a very good track record with commercial galleries because I keep wanting to do work that's really different
Hmm.
and, you know, and
Experimental, yeah.
experimental. And that's why I'm an artist. So
Right.
for my, for what I've been trying to do is having shows at nonprofit spaces
Okay,
that
that's probably
I'm
the way
looking
to
for.
go.
So here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for um, peer approval, which
Hmm.
is peer recognition, which is people that I
Yes.
see on the whose work I really respect,
Hmm.
who are kind of oriented toward, the sort of like museum level shows. That's that's where I want to, eventually get to, and that's the kind of that. So I have been looking for places that are experimental places that are not in the business to sell. And that's
Hmm.
like, I've decided, okay,
That's
so be it. That's what I
that's
want to
it.
do. Yeah. And then I teach and I love to teach. And so
Yeah.
that gives me, but I'm not averse to selling my work. And I do sometimes sell it. But, right now, especially with the hanging pieces,
Hmm.
I know that that's something that's really hard because it's big and it's not, most people aren't going to be doing that. And honestly, most people who have galleries, this is why the emphasis is on two-dimensional, because it's much easier to sell something that's going to sit on somebody's wall. We all have walls, but very few people have space for sculpture. But here I am, insisting on that. However, I just did start a series of paintings on paper. So that may be a whole new thing for me. Well, kind of like coming back to that, which is what I did. But anyway, I've been through, all I'm doing, in these classes is really telling you about my experience that I've had and things that I've seen. So I am not somebody who's here to tell you that I've had great success in the commercial work because I think it's really, really hard. So you also have to remember that the commercial art world is kind of like, in some way, some aspects of it, it's like the fashion world. The youngest, hippest stuff is what a lot of
Right.
people think they can sell. And so all our other competition are all the young people who come out of art schools every year, and there's thousands of them because we churn people out constantly in this country, which is fine, but there honestly isn't enough gallery space to show everybody wants to show. So it's become much more competitive over the years.
And forget about if you don't have a traditional art background.
Yeah, it's challenging. But the thing is, Laura, I mean, I
Mm.
think we can do that. And that's where paying attention to context, paying attention to what is kind of in the air
Mhm.
is really important for all of us. As we get older, we can't rely on what we've always done. We
No.
can, we can rely on the skill set that we've gotten, but we
Mhm.
also have to pay attention to the wider world in
Yeah.
all ways.
Mhm.
And I think, and that is this advice is I'm giving to you guys because I think, you sound like you're all, you do really want to be part of that world. And you don't have to be. You can continue, any one of us can just, lay back and find a comfortable place, and do the open calls occasionally. And that's nothing wrong with that. But if you are trying to, um, be seen, be seen and the sales thing can come in other ways, like we were talking about. There are art consultants, and that is much more likely to have for sales to happen than
Mhm.
in a gallery, because
Mhm.
those guys are working with other people who hire them, and they are looking, for things to put in hospitals and um wherever, corporate spaces, and fancy homes and not so heavy, I mean, and so there are lists of art consultants, and that's probably much more of a better bet than trying to get into a gallery unless you're really, really working on a level where,
Right.
that's something that they're looking for.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not making a lot of sense. Like, this business doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's why I think its best comparison is the fashion world. They're the hottest, coolest, youngest, skinniest, whatever, is what is
Yep.
fashionable this year. And that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that there are lists of art consultants.
Yeah, and I can provide you with a list. I'll send everybody a list of people that I know in the Boston area. That doesn't mean, so I know Boston area people because it makes sense. They can pick up my work and I don't have to ship it to them. And
Right.
that's why they like people who are more local. And
Yep.
I think a lot of consultants do that, but not everybody. So there are huge consultants in New York City and LA and all over the place. And those lists can be found, but like the galleries, they tend to, start getting
They have their faves.
have their
Yeah,
faves.
that's it. The people that they know they can rely on, they're going
Right.
to deliver on time, that the price is going to be right, their margin's huge.
That's right. That's right. But it doesn't, mean that it's out of possibility. So I'm happy to share the people that I know in the Boston area. So I have 4 or 5 names. Not a lot,
Okay.
but there are.
It's more than
There,
I have.
Yeah. So, so how would you approach them? What you would do is, since I'm, giving you the names, they'll be likely people that so not everybody will know me, but some of them will. And, so Boston Art, which is the biggest one that's out there, and that's the one I would ask everybody. I would suggest everybody apply to, because they do lots and lots and lots of places.
Do they have a standard application
They
kind
do.
of thing, or?
Yes, they do. So yeah, so the Boston Art, they will, they have a submission form. So, you'll enter their database and you upload your work, and then I love the cat. They will get back to you if they have a need for your work.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I did, this is my big sale. My big sale this past year was, they asked me if they could buy the digital rights to a painting to print it on a piece of canvas bigger than it actually was and show it outside.
And you said?
I said yes, because what the hell?
That's good.
Yeah,
Did you get to see it?
I did. Yeah, I did.
And
Did you approve?
where did it go?
It was outside, in front of, it's someplace downtown. I don't remember offhand, but there was a bunch of other ones that were printed really large, and that was nice. Fine.
Do you feel like that's a value add? I mean, is that a 5-figure, 6-figure? I mean, what kind of?
That was okay. So I asked somebody, how to charge for that, because they said, what do I get for that? And they said, well, it's usually 10% of your selling price. So this piece would be $9,000. So we agreed on $900.
Got it. And so
But you gave them
so
digital
like-
rights, and they could reproduce it over and over and over again.
That's what I'm asking. Do they get a one-off, or do they get in perpetuity? They can print this.
This is nice. This is I trust Boston
Well,
art to just do one.
Okay.
You didn't sign an agreement that said you get one and that's it. You in the contract, they could literally print however many they want.
Well, that's a good question. So, yeah.
That's my contract background.
Right.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's really good.
That's
No.
by knowing that somebody's always going to rip you off.
Yeah,
That's it.
no, it's true.
They're going to try to.
But this is why I said that is because, with this brave new world of digital technology, that is something that can happen now. I mean, it really
Exactly.
surprised me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
but this is now
Brave
something
new
that's
world.
so, that can happen. Nikki, did you want to turn on your unmute yourself?
It's not letting, there we go.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so any questions you have about this? So, Boston Sculpt, Boston Art, bostonart.com. Yeah. And I'll send you their link and all that stuff. So that's one. And then there are a couple of other ones that are much smaller and, they deal with, a variety of other kinds of things, more domestic or, more corporate, whatever. Yeah.
So we have a dear friend. Her main gig is she's the lead buyer for Fidelity,
Yeah, great.
and she travels the world, and she's
Yeah.
always looking for new and up and coming. And we've had a chat on a couple different occasions, very just top level. But I'm dying to dig in with her over a cup of coffee of like, hey, where would you position someone like myself? And is there even a place? I want to know, because she's approached me a couple times. She's like, Scott, we've got this huge wing. They're doing the whole seaport over Fidelity. And she's like, oh my God. And she's putting this art all over the planet and for all their offices. And I'm like, how do I get involved in something like that? And
Right.
there is no clear line. It's like they need what. And I'm like, I can build anything. I can do lighting. We can do whatever the heck it is you guys want, sculpture or lighting wise. And she's like, oh, that's very interesting. I'll keep you in mind. I mean, again, this is, but it's never. It's one of those things that's like, how the heck?
Yeah.
I want to be able to pinpoint something, but look, guys, I can do this for you. And it's always, even with friends, it's sometimes tough to break through those barriers. And I guess that's one of the big questions I've always kind of come to this with, right?
I think the thing that I learned late in life was that it's all about connecting with other people.
Right. And you sound like you have the right connection already, Scott. Work it.
Very good, Scott. Very good. So
We'll see. We'll
so there
see.
you go.
And
it's
bring us all along with you.
Bring it all for the ride. And that, like you just mentioned before, it is a network, and it's
a network. Yeah.
it's a network. And in that network, it's funny. I just hired a new assistant this week, and he came from the Chicago. What's the big art school in Chicago?
Art Institute.
Yes.
Art Institute. This
Lucky.
guy's amazing. He's worked with me for 3 days, and we've gotten more done in my workshop than I have in the last 2 months.
Wow.
And he's just lovely, and he's like, he has the practical skills, but he can't even speak for himself. Like when we interviewed, I was like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't even know if he's going to cut a finger off the first day. Comes in, and he's like, oh, I got this. He's making templates on my saws and everything. I'm like, wow, unbelievable. Now that we're chatting, I understand there's many levels that I haven't explored. So it's really, and we've been chatting about local artists here on Cape Cod. And he's like, oh, I'm associated with this filmmaker and this. And I'm like, I didn't even know these people were down here. And so, we had this whole talk today. It's like, how do we bring the network closer? And I know that was a big thing for Marianne. And one of the reasons she brought me into this group is like, we're both kind of consider ourselves hubs of people, in the spokes and everything. This is huge, right? And it's just meeting with this whole group is amazing. And it's like, now I research, and I think to our first meeting, that's where it's so darn important that we have our information somewhere that others can see it, much like if we were going to shop online. Oh, I need a new pair of shoes. Do I want Nike or do I want Adidas or whatever? I go and I look at the different models. And if I can see what you guys are doing, heck, then we may all go along for a ride together, right?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to take the whole conversation.
No, not at all. You're right. No, Scott, that's the underlying thing. And I've really tried to listen to that advice and get over myself. Make friends with people all over the freaking place.
Exactly.
I was terrified. I used to see gallerists as like them and us, but it's not, and everybody else. Like we can all help each other. And, I love that thought. And it wasn't always like this, and I think social media has really helped. I think the younger art generation is much more transparent than my generation was coming into it. And, I think I mentioned that I'm a member of this thing called Network, NETVVRK. And I will send you the link to this. So this is for if you're really, really serious about really connecting with people all over the country and the world. This is an online, Zoom-oriented thing run by this woman named Patty Johnson, who, provides a forum for people to network with each other.
What's it called?
Network. Let me just show you
Spell it for me.
let me just show you. So it's NETVVRK. NETVVRK. Why? I don't know. It's to be cute. But this is the feed. So, if you become a member of it, and it's like $900 a year, but you have a class curriculum, you have recordings of strategy calls, members discuss goals, networking, and other career strategies.
So it's a repository of other pros
It's
that are
fabulous.
putting their space in, putting their expertise in, their conversations.
That's right. So we all help each other. I've been a member for 2 years. I'm going on my 3rd year here, but it's, just remarkable.
Have you gained any business from it?
No. So it's not a business place, but it is a place where people can share. Oh, there's an opportunity, and there's a great residency. It's, they're accepting members now. Applications now. Here's a grant come up.
Well, you wouldn't be joining it again if you didn't find it valuable. So
I really find it valuable. I have really gotten a lot out of it.
the networking.
Yeah. So, I think you have, you want to be consider yourself sort of a mid-career person, not straight off, never having done this before. Because, otherwise I think it's just a lot to sort of take in, but, it's really so incredibly valuable. And this thing wouldn't have been possible. I think it all started during the pandemic, at this kinds of
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of things started during the pandemic.
I wish I started this during the pandemic, $900 a head.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I started teaching online during the pandemic, and it's just been great. So,
Yeah.
this really did come out from that. So if you are ready for, looking at that, you're, definitely look at it. But, even if you don't, you can subscribe to Patty's podcast, in which she talks about all the different kinds of things that, you might have questions about.
What's the podcast name?
Let me see.
That might be a great way to start.
Yeah,
Just to
it is
dip
really.
a toe in the water.
Yeah, art problems.
Art problems.
Yeah. And she's got a whole listing of various things that you might,
Thank you. That's great.
Coming to a standstill, 10 professionals helping artists you need to know, goal setting, even just like how to manage an art career when you're over 60. So this is a gold mine. This is a gold mine of, kind of inspirational and just like practical discussions. So you guys might really, really, and it's all free. You don't have to pay for that.
That's
Well, that's
awesome.
great. You'll send that in a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be
Thank
happy
you.
to do that. So yeah, it's daunting, but there are ways. And so I was just going to say, that beyond the cooperative galleries, which it's not terrible to pay $1,200 a year to be able to show your work every 2 years, have a solo show of your work every 2 years, and be part of the back end of a gallery, learning how it all goes. So it's not terrible. It's pretty worthwhile. But then, it's.
Are you putting time into managing the gallery as well?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So
you're free labor. You're
labor.
not free labor. You're paying to be labor for them, as well as show your work, have a solo show once a year. Where is this, a physical space?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there are places in Boston that you can find to do this. Yeah. So Bromfield Gallery is one that's cooperative.
You happen to have a list of that or no?
Yeah.
Oh, cooperative. Yeah.
Would you mind showing that to us?
Not at all. So I'll send you lists. Yeah, I'll send you my list today.
Thank you.
But so this is just to say that, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but just to kind of anchor this whole thing, an artist has to be as creative, trying to figure out how to get their work out,
Yeah,
as
that's
things are
awesome.
in making the work.
Yeah.
Nobody has it easy. There is nobody that has it easy or has it forever. But,
Right.
you know, because of things like open studios, there's nothing wrong with open studios.
I do 2 a year. I mean,
YouTube a year, you know, that and that can be fine.
yeah, I do well. I've done well.
Well, that's great, Laura. You know, and that's not this. Yeah, that is absolutely fine to do that. You can have a show, you know, at a, you know, in a nonprofit space, you know, that's around. I mean, there are many that I can tell you about that you can do that, and then you can sort of create your own publicity. These days with the internet, you can make anything look like a hip and happening scene. It doesn't mean you're going to get buyers, but it does mean you can make friends. So it's, you know, it's this whole pie. It's not just I'm a lonely artist in my studio and I'm going to make my art and sell it despite everything. It's really like the artist world is so much more than that, you know. It's kind of a way of life.
Yeah.
And you have to take that attitude because it's not like, you know, Scott, you have a business and, you know, that's great. You have that. And
I couldn't be more happy. I mean, I'm very fortunate, and I just wanted
Yeah.
to maybe bring it to the next level. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this is this pays the mortgage now. So, but I want to be able to do more, and as I get older, I want to be able to like, okay, well, develop, right, and continue to learn and continue to push the
Yeah.
boundaries. Because if not, then it gets stagnant, and then you get really lonely in your workshop. And I've had that too. I've dealt with deep depression, just sitting trying to make art alone in a silo. And we're all you're talking about this, and I understand it, but it's a
Where
real
I am
feeling.
now.
We all know it.
This is what I'm feeling today.
right. So we need each other. Art is not just a solo. We need community, definitely. And so, you know, you need to go find it,
Yep.
or make it. And we
Yeah.
can all do that. You know, there are lots of places to do that and ways to do that. And then I do want to emphasize, in the end of the day, you have to really enjoy your studio practice and also be growing in the studio practice. It's not an easy doing here. There's no easy answer if you
No.
want a certain kind of result. You know, so it takes all of it, and it feels like you're juggling all the balls in the air.
And you
Um,
are.
but it's, you
And
know,
you
I
are
find it
juggling
very
all the balls in the
challenging.
air.
I find it
Exactly.
a challenging life,
Mm.
and you know, when I look back, I feel like it's been really fun.
Right.
Terrible way to make a living.
Yeah.
Terrible way to make a living, but it is. It's the only thing I can do right now. This is what I am. I am what I am.
You are what you are. I am what I am. So
I like it.
leave you with that,
Popeye.
everybody. Happy birthday, Scott. So we'll see
Thank you
next
all.
week.
What a
Yeah,
lovely
any
evening.
questions, any other special things you want me to get at, let me know.
All
Great.
right. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.
Good night.